Arsenal Real Madrid combined 11, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into it. First, in goal, Thibaut Courtois edges Raya for me. He's still one of the better goalkeepers in the world. With Carvajal injured and Ben White injured for the majority of the season, I'm actually going to go Timber at right back. Centre-back pairing with Gabriel injured is going to be Rodrygo and William Saliba. But if Gabriel was fit, he would have been in here over Rodrygo. Left back with Ferland Mendy injured and nobody else really of quality, we're going to be putting in Miles Lewis Skelly. The midfield, Jude Bellingham is in, no debate. We already know that. Martin Odegaard is not going to be in this. I'm not going to be putting the 39-year-old Luka Modric in. I'm actually going to go Declan Rice in the defense as Tchouameni's out injured. And it's between Camavinga or Freddy Valverde. I'm going to put Valverde. I think he's been the better player this season. Vinicius is in, I think, no debate. Mbappe is in, no debate. And I put Bukayo Saka in, no debate, over Rodrygo. I think if you guys are telling me Rodrygo's a better player, maybe he's better at shooting and he scored a couple clutch goals in his time at Madrid, but Saka's the better all-around winger. But let me know what you guys think about this combined 11. I'm out of here, people. Let me know your score predictions also for Arsenal versus Real Madrid on Tuesday. It's going to be a very interesting game. And yeah, peace.
Firstly, Igal, get a new mic, bro. The mic was bugging. But that's combined 11 from Igal. We're previewing Arsenal versus Real Madrid later on the show, so stay with us for that one. Mbappe and co. come to London town. We're taking a look and having a debate today. Is this the worst EPL season ever? And I'm going to be telling you why Chelsea could be finishing 7th this season if things continue as they are. A little bit of transfer talk as well, breaking down the Manchester derby. But we've got a wonderful panel for you today, including Kate, who is back with us on the show. It's lovely to have your feminine charm back on this show. Speaking of being feminine, Tom Little is here with his long flowing hair straight out of the 1990s. There we go. We've got Henry Talks Football on the show with didn't brush his hair today by the looks of it. What is going on? Man like Kunle is with us, back in his team Arsenal, and Will is here with the weight of the world on his shoulders, as he has to be Arsenal, otherwise the banter could get out of control. How are we, lady and gentlemen?
Good.
Pretty good.
All good.
Still
11 points clear.
Right.
That's
Very
drop that in,
mid-week,
Tom.
though.
That's drop that in.
We asked if you were all right, bro. We didn't add for any ad libs, bro.
No, I just have to say why I was all right. I'm still 11 points clear. I'm still on course to get me Guard of Honour from Arsenal, so I'm all good.
Hang on, Terry, I won, so shouldn't I be up there? And Tom be down here?
Bro.
All right, cool. Yeah. There we go. We can do that.
To be fair, he hasn't had this feeling many times this season, so we'll give
True. Let him have it.
Yeah, no, it's true. You can go up there. You can go up there.
Do teams have to give the Guard of Honor? Like, what if Arsenal just say no? Like, we're not doing that.
They'll say we're class.
They could do.
It'll be like, the Pistons that didn't give a guard that shake the Bulls.
Yeah. Because like I don't believe in like that, like all that sportsmanship stuff. Like I would never like I hate the Guard of Honor. Like that to me is so stupid.
I hear it.
I mean, it's a sign of respect.
I would back the players.
Yeah. Like you can congratulate them, but like for me to like everybody's clapping and you guys walking out.
I'm sure you don't complain about it when teams give you a Guard of Honor.
Well, of course I'm not going to complain about it, but I've always thought that it was stupid though. Like why are you congratulating me for winning when we were competing for the same trophy? Like just move. I don't know. If I was Arsenal, I wouldn't do it. Like I don't care if it's called classless or if we're labeled.
I'm with it. I'm with you. I'll back the team all the way if they don't do it.
To be fair, like I don't need the whole team. If you can just make sure that Raheem Sterling's in that starting 11 that day, just so I know that he's going to stand there and applaud all my players.
Oh, so you're telling me, Tom, you were part of that racist contingent at Liverpool that made that guy hate for 10 years, aren't you? You're one of them guys. He's leaving only for money. Scumbag. He bought his mum a new house. Scumbag. You're one of them ones, weren't you? Do you know what I mean? I see you now. I see you, Tom. I see you with your curtains, bruv. I see you with your curtains. Listen, I like the sportsman part of it. I like it. However, after Gary Neville pissed me off yesterday, I want to see a few teams do a few naughty things, bruv. Gary Neville pissed me off. I can't even lie to you. I saw this man all season moan about people that got to be more sporting. I don't like balls being thrown at heads. I don't like people laughing in each other's faces. Only for yesterday for him to go, I'm so disgusted that sets of players from both Manchester teams hugged and shook hands and smiled at each other at the end of the game. The fuck is wrong with these pundits? And then Pep crying about a song. Oh no, they said his mum was a slag. I mean, this is what I mean. I'm not going to blame Pep. He's not from the UK. Everyone who's English knows that's a bit of a laugh. It's a bit of banter. Like, we all slag each other's mums off. It's a thing. And no one gets that offended by it. Like, saying your mum is such a typical thing to say in England. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Just a weird weekend of people getting overly offended by everything in football. But there we go. Give us your thoughts and your opinions on that. Loads to talk about today. But I wanted to start with Chelsea. And I want to start with Chelsea because they're tracking to come 7th. That isn't my prediction. That isn't my hatred of Chelsea. It's not that at all. It is based upon the fact that since they beat Brentford 2-1 in December and moved themselves within 2 points of the league and everybody started talking about title races, in that period of time, their run of form has been poor. And we've seen other teams like Aston Villa and Newcastle in that time improve their performances. And I was looking at this today, that this came out today, and I thought this was very, very interesting indeed for Chelsea. That when you look at the points per game in the last 15 matches that Newcastle, Nottingham Forest, Manchester City, Aston Villa have all got, if everything stays pretty much as it is in terms of performances and the amount of games each side wins, so that therefore the points per game being picked up, Chelsea are coming in 7th with 7 games remaining. They're going to end up on around 62 points. And the Brentford game was another sort of example of that at the weekend, not able to score, playing well, but not getting over the line. And I know that a lot of Chelsea fans are still sitting in this space of, well, we're 4th, though. There's not much to panic about. But they are not picking up wins against anybody that in the last 15 games is above them in the form table. Every win is against sides that have fallen below them. And the likes of, listen, maybe Newcastle drop off like people predicted, but Villa are picking up points now much more than they were in the opening sort of 15 games of the season. Newcastle and Forest are in that space. And even City that are kind of coughing and spluttering over the line, they are all averaging more points per game in the last 3 to 4 months of football than Chelsea. So again, what I'm basing it on is maths, and the maths is based on the performances. Can anyone see a world where they still make the top 4? Does anyone see where they're going to improve their performances? Because yesterday seemed to be just another really bad day for them.
No,
I don't know where.
I don't. I'll be honest. I think they'll finish between 6th and 8th. So I think 7th like that is bang on. They're not scoring goals. They got 3 goals in 2 legs against Copenhagen, 1 against Leicester. Didn't score against Brentford. Didn't score against Arsenal. Okay, they beat Southampton 4-0, but let's be honest, they're a championship side. And they beat us 1-0. I mean, for a side that's, you know, 1.3, 1.4 billion down to not have that much firepower. And I'm looking at Enzo Maresca now, like, okay, Palmer's not, what's he now, saying like 11 games without a goal? But no one else is really stepping up now. What's Sancho doing? Okay, Jackson's his first game back. Pedro Neto. There's too many question marks over him now. And if they finish 7th, and they sack another manager, they're going to be 3 years down this process. They had Poch, they've had Maresca. Who they're going to go for now? You know, I know they need a goalkeeper. I know they need a number 9. I know they need a centre back. But the amount of goal, I mean, they got 8 goals in the last 11 games, something like that. I mean, that's absolutely insane. We've scored a lot more goals. We've got players up like Timo Werner and Brandon Johnson half the time. And we've had countless injuries, but yes, we're still scoring more goals. They've been outscored by flipping Ipswich in the last 10 games. Ipswich have scored more goals. So I don't know. I think Maresca will, even if he wins the Conference League, I personally, if I was a Chelsea fan, I'd want him out because I just don't see what this season they started off really well, but everyone else was shit.
When you say that, though, I want to defend Maresca slightly. He said yesterday in the comment here from Rahman puts it out, the difference was goals. I mean, Brentford, in fairness, had some really good chances to score as well, but they're just not creating the clear-cut chances and scoring the goals. Is that the coach, or are we just looking at the fact that the majority of Chelsea's attacking line isn't good enough?
Okay,
I think it's
who has the better attacking line? when they're all fit? Spurs or Chelsea?
Sorry.
Who has a better attacking line when they're all fit? Spurs or Chelsea?
Spurs. And you can you can prove that because you guys score more goals.
No, it's a different style of play.
Well, wait, but Henry, do you mean the front three or like the front four?
When front three, when Jackson's fully fit and firing, when Palmer's sitting in the 10.
Okay, so
but who is the front three that you're referring to?
Name the players.
Sancho and Jackson.
Oh, yeah, you would have to say that.
I would say, let's break it down. So we would all agree Palmer's the best of everyone, right? He's there, right? So who, honestly, now we're not saying any of them are world class, so no one get triggered. Everyone calm down. It's the argument here. I'm talking to the audience more so. If you had to pick Son or Sancho, who are you guys picking?
Yeah, Son. But I'm taking Jackson over Solanke and I'm taking Neto over Johnson.
I'm not saying Jackson over Solanke.
Everyone's jumping
over Jackson.
Let's bear in mind, if you're doing a front four, because you want to include a 10, if you're doing a front four,
you're taking Son, I agree.
Palmer is the only Chelsea player that gets in.
So you're taking Solanke this season over Jackson?
I'm taking Solanke up top. I'm taking Kulusevski on the right.
Hasn't scored in how many games?
Yeah, I'm taking Solanke.
You can push us on it as much as you want.
I'm taking Solanke up top. I'm taking Kulusevski on the right, and I'm taking Son on the left.
So what are you basing Solanke on in a Spurs shirt that's better than Jackson? What has Solanke done in a Spurs shirt to be better than Jackson?
I think Solanke's a better striker.
I believe he's a better player.
Okay, I get it in Bournemouth.
Whether you want to call it in a Spurs shirt, because you're asking us to refer to Jackson over 18 months and Solanke over 6 months, and that's not fair. But he's a better player.
Okay, but this season, this season,
now you're narrowing the argument, and what's also really
because we're going off of talent, Henry. Like you're talking about this season.
So
Henry, just slow down a minute because I don't want the conversation narrow too much. I want to just point out as well. Barring Cole Palmer, I don't think any of us want to buy any of these players, by the way. Like, in terms of genuinely improving our teams, none of us are going, I want Son this summer or I want Solanke this summer. But you guys, at the end of it, what do you explain the volume of goals? They've had, you and them have got similar XG this season. So the quality of chances have been very similar, but you guys are one of the highest goal scorers in the league. They're the second biggest underperformers of XG in the league. How's that Maresca's fault, in your opinion?
Because a manager is essentially the last one to be, is the first one to be blamed, isn't he? And I look at Chelsea's team. I think everyone wanted Neto in the summer. Loads of teams were after him. We were after him. Chelsea were after him. Arsenal were after him. I don't think Maresca has got the most out of his resources. I think Jackson's a good striker. I think Sancho's the one. I don't get why they signed Sancho. But I think Madueke with better coaching would be better. I don't think Maresca is that good of a coach. And I think when Chelsea, up until December, they were absolutely firing. But there was a lot of other teams that were dropping off. Then teams started finding them out. You got to the new year. They didn't sign anyone. And since then, it's coincidentally that Palmer's dropped off, the form has dropped off, but Maresca hasn't got an answer in his coaching. Okay, they changed system. They put Caicedo at right back. Then he goes into the midfield.
But Henry, at the start of the season, where did you expect Chelsea to finish before that form that you saw? Before you saw how they started the season.
Yeah, with that squad, they should be in the top four. Let's be honest. When anyone in the league, if Maresca got sacked tomorrow, go after him. No, they wouldn't.
And that's a fair comment. But the argument here is this: for me, I think they did a very good squad and they're still very good players. But I feel what this season has exposed is that a number of these players, when the pressure gets on top, aren't good enough. And ironically, I know not everyone likes my view of football, which is fair, but how you handle pressure, so the direction that your consistency goes in when pressure is applied, is an element of the game that most people want to ignore. For instance, scoring goals for a mid-table team at this stage of the season is easier than delivering in a tight title race or a massive Champions League games, because the pressure is different. So for me, I saw those Chelsea players look brilliant up until Christmas, and then title race talk happened. And do you remember what a lot of the Chelsea players were saying? I don't even look at the league table. I don't even know where we are. Title race? What's a title race? And it was just obvious they were talking about it and thinking about it. And from that point until now, it's gone down the toilet. And I just look at that and think, we're in this point. And I understand Maresca is made mistakes. I'm not saying he's perfect, but I've watched these games. I've watched every single match. They have been in positions for the right pass to be played and not done it, for a fairly simple shot to be taken and a goal to be scored, and they have missed. I think it's disingenuous to say all of that.
Yeah, like I don't think
the manager.
Yeah, like I don't think that they sack Maresca, because for me, I think it's more of a board issue in terms of poor squad building. Because if you look at their team, they do have a lot of talent, but a lot of their guys, especially in attack, are very passive. Like aside from Cole Palmer, maybe like Madueke, but he's mid. They don't really have any aggressive attackers, right? Like they don't have anybody in front of goal that is known for scoring like that, right? And then when they get annoyed with Sancho, because he's not aggressive, right? Like Pedro Neto's not really a goal threat. Nicholas Jackson is hit or miss. I don't really think that Maresca can do that much better with this team. I don't think any manager can go in there right now and get better out of that attack. I think this is just what they are, right? I think that the board, instead of them going out there and getting a proven goal scorer up front, they still sign more young players and all these different things. So in my opinion, I don't think that Maresca's job is under pressure, because I don't think that at Chelsea, the board, I don't think that there's that pressure of top four from the board. You can tell by how
Will.
they talk.
I hear what you're saying there, but it's confusing if that's not the goal of top four this season for the board, in terms of they got rid of Poch for what reason there? He wasn't that far behind the top four last season. So why would they get rid of a manager that then potentially doesn't get?
They didn't want to get rid of him, though, did they?
Then get a manager in that doesn't get top four and his job not being under pressure. I'm not saying it should be.
But
I'm not saying it should be.
No, wait,
but it wouldn't make sense, no?
Well, so what you're saying makes sense, but at the same time, you don't bring in a manager like Maresca, who's never managed at the top level, and then you sack him after one season. Like I feel like Poch, I don't think he wasn't sacked. I don't think that he was sacked because of top four. I think that there was probably a disagreement between him and whoever makes those decisions, and then they parted ways. But obviously, bringing in Maresca, right, that does not show that Chelsea want to compete, because then you wouldn't have brought in a Maresca. You would have brought in a more proven manager, right? Like he is a rebuild project kind of manager, because he's so unproven.
Do you think Chelsea will stick with Maresca for the next 2 or 3 years?
I don't know about 2 or 3.
They finish sixth or seventh.
I don't know about 2 or 3, but I think that he'll be here next season. Like he'll be at Chelsea next season. And then the expectation, depending on what they do, because again, nobody knows what this board wants. Like we all know
the financial side of things,
but we all know what the problems at
without being in the top four. They have to get in the top four. The financial side of things are coming out that they're not.
Henry,
they don't have a squad that's built for that.
Henry. I understand this, and I get why you're doing the whole manager thing, because of the way you have an agenda against your manager, and I think you're just trying to keep.
It's not an agenda. I just don't like. Well, yeah, he's an agenda.
Wait, but then I have a question though. So, do you think that that's the board's priority, is competing and winning and getting in top four? Because if that is the priority, then this summer I don't expect to see them buying any more unproven 18-year-olds. Right?
It's making money though, Will. Though it's making money.
But I brought
in the Champions League gets them more money, no?
But I brought this up on this show probably a month or so ago. I think Chelsea's board might just try to become like a selling club. Like you just become like a blue version of Dortmund. Like you buy young talent, you try and build their profile up, and then you sell them for profit.
That may be what they're doing. And I just look, it's an interesting one in terms of the direction that they're in. But Chelsea fans want Champions League football, and there are Chelsea fans that understand the problems that they have. There are others like David that come on our show who's just willing to see this project and this process through to see where they land at the end of it. And that is all fair. But the conversation is more about where do we think they're going to end up this season? And I've been calling this out for 5 or 6 weeks now. It's not a hatred of Chelsea. It's just the performances are poor. The results, they're averaging around 1.27 points per game. And yes, they had an amazing start when a number of other teams were faulting. So they gave themselves a really big sort of barrier and a big cushion, especially up until the mid-December point. But they've slowly been regressing. It's just the league position hasn't changed dramatically at this point. And I don't think some Chelsea fans have realized if the performance... I know you hear the results are all that count at this stage, Terry. True. But to keep getting results over the next 7 games, the performances have got to get better. The idea they're going to be able to smash and grab when they don't really have anyone. If Palmer was in form, my mind would be different. And if he turns it around, it may change. But they don't have anyone doing this season what Palmer did last year, where he was burying free kicks, scoring those penalties, scoring many goals in open play. It's not happening right now. And Chelsea have got to buck their ideas up massively. Because the one thing I will say about making money, financially, they need to be in the Champions League really bad. You know, they really, really do. I know it says they've made profits recently, but all that's being scrutinized now because it's selling their women's football team that made an £8 million loss for a valuation of 200 million. Hasn't been approved by the Prem. I think it probably will be. UEFA have already said they're rejecting it. They're not allowing them to compete under FFP. They still don't have a shirt sponsor, as an example. And there's some really talented players they've bought. And I'm not saying everything's bad at Chelsea. Caicedo and Enzo have been looking excellent recently, especially Caicedo. You know, Cole Palmer, we all rant and rave about. There's some really good signings. Gusto's been excellent. Cucurella, I think, has now turned back into the play, was at Brighton. But they have got to spend big this summer. But I think to do that, they've got to be in this Champions League. And they are just
that's
failing.
how their board view it, though, Terry. Like, I don't think that's how their board views it. Because their actions don't show that. So, like, you have to go based off the actions.
That's fair.
Yeah, and the board is showing. Sorry, so the board is showing us that they don't match up with what the fans' current expectation is.
Exactly.
The fans' current expectation of this squad is top 4. Me personally, looking at the squad at the start of the season, you remember, Terry, I said top 6 max. Top 6. And even with their good run of form, I said, you lot are getting excited because of 12 games. Everyone shouted at Spurs for getting excited about 10 games last season. So I was like, wait it out. Wait till January, then we'll reevaluate what this Chelsea side are really about. And they've shown themselves. This is what the squad was designed to do. When they get a bit of pressure, because of the lack of maturity of the squad, it was always going to fall into decline. There's no one to rally the troops in. And Maresca doesn't have the experience or the respect from the dressing room.
That's the problem with the age thing. Yeah, I agree.
Well, the thing is, though, if Chelsea wanted to make top 4, right? Like, if that was such a priority for them this season, then they had a perfect opportunity in January to make a significant signing to greatly help. They brought in an 18-year-old from France that nobody's heard of. I just don't think that's their priority.
I think they think this squad can make top 4, though. I think that's their whole thing. You might think this squad can't make top 4. You might think it's not ready to make top 4. It's not.
Well, I thought that it could make top 4. To be fair,
I think this Chelsea.
You think the board thinks so? Yeah.
I think the board think that this squad is good enough to get top 5. It only needs to be top 5. I think this board thinks this Chelsea squad can get top 5. The one thing they cannot do in their model is buy all these young players, have this 5-year plan with 4 different managers, because after a year, if they don't hit expectations, they're sacked. Because then there's no point in buying the young players because they're not going to develop properly. Because they're going to be their key development needs are going to be spent under 3 different managers. What they need is to settle on a manager, and I think they're wanting to give Maresca as much of a chance as possible with this. I don't think that this run of form is on him. I don't think he wants to pick Nkunku, but he hasn't had any other choice. I don't think he quite likes some of the midfield options that he's got, but Lavi's constantly injured. I don't think he's necessarily the biggest fan of Trevor Chalobah at centre-back, but his first choice is constantly injured. This Chelsea squad has some weaknesses, but I think that ownership thinks it can make top 4 with it. And if they get Champions League with it, then they're vindicated in their methods, and it will just be the same thing over and over and over again.
They may. And Jem here says they won 3 of the last 4 Prems. That's not true. Your last 4 Premier League games, you've won 2, lost 1, drawn 1. You beat Leicester, you lost to Arsenal, you beat Spurs 1-0, you drew with Brentford. And the thing is, when you go over the last 15 games, and the reason why I focus on that period is because that was when your performances started to change. That was when fans started having an issue here. You drew with Everton 0-0. Got that game where you got beat by Fulham late on, beat by Ipswich, drew with Palace, drew with Bournemouth. You then beat Wolves. The victories in that period have all been below teams that are below you in the form table. The only one now where in the last 15 games that you've beaten above you in the form table has been Wolves, whose form in the last few games has improved and they've won some matches. But when you beat them, they were below you. And you've only got Ipswich left that are below you on that form table. So this is what I'm saying, Jem. And I just don't think this is a crazy statement. If your performances of the last 15 matches don't improve, looking at the results those performances have got you versus the results that the Forests, the Cities, the Villas, the Newcastles have got, it becomes very, very unlikely that you make a top 4 position. You may not even make a Europa League position. Now, you should be in the Europa League next year because you should be winning the Conference League as an example. But I think Chelsea Football Club need Champions League football to genuinely help themselves progress, because money needs to be spent. Big money needs to be spent on players. And I just think it would be a very disappointing season for Chelsea with how fantastically you started, how brilliant you looked until December, to then end up coming 6th or 7th or 8th. It would be a hugely disappointing campaign at the end of the 3rd year of this project. And, you know, I'd be disappointed as a Chelsea fan. Now, if you go for your next 4 Premier League games and win 3 of them, and you beat Fulham, and you beat Everton, and you beat Liverpool, and you beat Ipswich, then fair play. But to do that, my belief is your performances have got to improve. And if they do improve, I'll praise them and say, fucking hell, look, that's a good turnaround. Maresca got the job done. Jackson stood up. Palmer's back on form. Neto's now delivering. But at the same time, all I keep hearing is we're 4th, though, as opposed to we're going to turn it around for this reason. The manager's going to do this and it's going to change. This player will come back into form and we're going to do X, Y, and Z. I'm not hearing any rebuttals to the argument around how the performances will change. I'm just hearing, but we're 4th, so it's okay, as opposed to an actual argument. And I'd be worried if I was a Chelsea fan right now. If you're a Chelsea fan and you're not worried, fair play to you. But you could at least give us the common courtesy of saying why you're not worried. At least have a conversation with us, as opposed to just, well, we're 4th.
Ask them the question, like, which Chelsea players can you rely on right now? Sorry, Kate, actually. You go, sorry.
That's all right. You crack on.
Nah, it's your welcome back, so sorry, you go.
Oh, okay. No, I was going to say, isn't it the fact that Chelsea being 4th, just a reflection of what the title of the show was, that it's the worst EPL ever? Because the level of Chelsea, I mean, you've got Forest, Chelsea, City, Villa, Newcastle, even Fulham and Brighton all in that bracket. And none of them are like the good, I don't want to say the good teams, that sounds terrible, but the teams you expect to be up there, the Chelseas, the Cities, nobody's taking it by the scruff of the neck and sort of cementing it. Chelsea had a chance to sort of cement their place in the top 4 at the weekend, and they didn't. I think it's 8 games without a win away from home for Chelsea now. I just think that the season has just been so poor. Apart from Liverpool, every other team has just been so poor. And I think it's reflected in that, where Chelsea is sitting.
You are spot on, you know, and it has been a very poor Premier League season in the sense of, I think Arsenal once or twice have won 3 games on the bounce. That's it. Where if you look at last season, look at the runs of form they had. I think Chelsea City have won 4 on the bounce once very early on in the season, and outside since then it's been 2 games, maybe then a draw, but no more than 3 wins on the bounce on a regular basis. They're used to going on, you know, a 6-game round, win streak, and a 7-game and a 10-game. Chelsea, they had that run of 5 wins in over November and December. They did win 3 on the bounce in September. Since then, no more than 2 on the bounce. Man United, we've been the worst of everybody this season. We have not won back-to-back Premier League games all season. We have underperformed worse than Chelsea, worse than Tottenham, worse than everybody in the Premier. We've been an abomination. And we have our reasons, and there's context to that. But put all that aside for this conversation, because we're talking about the competitiveness of the league and the quality has been low. So Tottenham massively underperformed, as we all know. Chelsea started well but fell off. United, dreadful. Arsenal have been worse than we all expected them to be. No one predicted City being this bad. So 5 of the traditional top 6 have massively underperformed based on all the predictions we made. Liverpool have overperformed based on most people's prediction. So Liverpool deserve massive credit. When you actually look at the league, I think you can even make a case for like Villa underperforming this year. They've only just gone into plus goal difference. I don't think they've been as good in the league as we all expected. Maybe you can throw in the European side. Newcastle, since sort of December till now, I think they've been phenomenal. But the first 3 or 4 months of this season, Newcastle were up and down to a point where a lot of their fans are calling for their manager to be sacked. I think your Bournemouths, your Brightons, your Fulhams, will I say they've been phenomenal this year? Well, I think they've been around the level that we've seen in the last 2 or 3. Bournemouth maybe a slightly higher one. But I do think overall, so many top sides have underperformed this season. It's been crazy. I think you bang on, Kate.
Do you not think Sorry, I was just going to say, do you not think, even though Liverpool, I'm not taking anything away from Liverpool when I say this, but even though they've been the best team in the country, when you watch them, you don't look at them and think, wow, it's like watching Prime Man City. This is a team that's going to dominate for years. They're just the best because everyone else has been so crap.
Yeah. No, I hear it. They don't look scary, but they're efficient. I know what you mean. Like,
and I don't want to take it away from Liverpool, but it's just everyone.
I know it's hard to hear, Tom, but you're still winning.
I don't care. I'll happily wear it as a badge of honor that we won the worst Premier League ever. All of you could have done it.
Your face didn't say that when we were saying
the part I disagree with is just that, yes, it's been a bad year, but I think for Liverpool, we went 26 games unbeaten in the league. Like everyone else hasn't went on a run, and we went on like the 8th longest unbeaten run in Premier League history this season, which kind of just gets sort of brushed under the carpet. I understand that teams haven't performed, but we
why
still
do you
done
think
our
it
bit.
Gets brushed under the carpet? Why do you think?
Because you all wish you were in my position.
You reckon that's
no,
what it
I'd
is?
never want to be a Liverpudlian, Tom. Sorry.
Wow. I expect that of Teddy, not of you, Case.
No, I reckon Arsenal ruined the league, man. They ruined it this season, man.
Yeah, I mean,
they had more. If they pushed Liverpool away, it could have been more exciting in other areas as well.
You could have done.
I think we ruined it.
But without all the injuries, you were 9 points behind us.
Liverpool didn't even beat PSG. You know, they're not even as good as PSG, and yet they're sitting comfortably at the top of the league. Something doesn't compute for me.
But that's because the Premier League is a glorified farmers league, and I know that you guys don't like to hear that. But the league is not as competitive as what it's made out to be. But because a lot of the clubs have so much financial freedom, it gets overhyped because a lot of teams can spend money. But just in terms of the Prem in general, it's not as good. That's why when people say it's the best league in the world, I think it's crazy.
There's an argument that La Liga,
La Liga, which is super competitive.
Yeah, La Liga this year has been really good.
I mean, La Liga didn't have one team just win it 4 years straight, and then had an off year like this.
I bigged you up.
Huh?
Bigged you up. I was bigging you up. I wasn't this.
Oh, okay. And I didn't. No, they didn't sound like it, bro.
I think it swings and roundabouts. The Premier League claim that it's the best league is. I know some people put this down to marketing, but at the end of the day, Disney just spent about £300 million marketing a movie that no fucker's watching. So you can't market a piece of shit and then have people continue to watch it. I think bad albums from artists prove that when there's hundreds of millions spent on them. Bad movies are examples of that. The Premier League, by and large, has been, and I think this is what the issue is this season. I'm not going to get into a debate with anybody over subjectively which league you think is best, that you find the most entertaining, or the brands of football that you think are best, because that's just like arguing what's better, rap or sometimes it's like jazz or opera. You know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder on that. What I base the Premier League typically being the best on is that we just have a much bigger audience. And I think that's because over the period of time, just over a long period of time, so a 10-year period, I just find that people have found our league, and it isn't just the title race. It's the title race, the top four race, the rivalries, the relegation battles. I think people have found the league in its entirety compelling to watch and interesting. Now, that's when I think of it as being better. That's what stands out to me. And that's because, and don't forget the English saying it, because we're going to be biased, same as the French and the Germans, or we'll be biased about our own country. I'm just saying, why does...
But you can't take the English out of it. That's why the Premier League is considered the biggest, because of English bias. Like,
well, no,
like,
but it's not. Again, but you didn't let me finish my point. My point is this: that English people having bias doesn't make tens of millions of people in.
No, that's not.
Please if you let me finish my point, you'll understand what I mean. I think we're talking across each other here. English fans having bias and saying it's the best doesn't make loads of people in Hong Kong, loads of people in Beijing, loads of people in Sydney. It doesn't make us the most viewed league internationally. That, for me, I don't even think people in those countries see what the fuck we say, if I'm being honest with you, especially if you're on Twitter and you don't speak English or it's not your first language. I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't think some English bias plays a part in that. So I'm just pointing out, for me, when I say the Premier League's the best, I'm purely basing it on its viewing figures and its audience as an example. I am totally open, because I don't have a dog in the fight. If someone thinks La Liga is more compelling, the football's better, someone thinks Ligue 1's better, I'm not going to debate them over it, because it's a preference.
So I reckon the Premier, football wise, I'm not going to come out and say the Premier League plays the best football, but the whole package of the Premier League is the best. Everything, like the whole, it's like the story, the drama, the everything. I don't think it's based on just the football that what makes it the best. It's the whole package, how they market the league, the players, the way they get involved. It's the everything, to be honest. If it's just based on football, I think it might be a different argument.
Hey, that's the whole point. That's what I think's missing this season. Yeah. It's just there hasn't been, and when we actually have had some games where there's been some drama, and there's a side, and I think the side story is an important part. Let's not pretend. Look, La Liga's amazing. I'll never slag it off. It's amazing. Let's not pretend when we had Pete Jose versus Pete Pep, part of what compelled us in those seasons was those two going head to head as an example. Obviously, there was the Messi and Ronaldo debates and arguments as an example. You had a few years back where you had Barca winning the majority of the leagues, Real Madrid dominating Europe. The conversation around it was every bit as compelling as the football in itself. And that is phenomenal. The Premier League, the only time we've had anything, by the way, not close to that was the peak level of La Liga, was when Arsenal and City were going at it. And what did our stupid pundits do? Played it down. Don't do that. Bad behavior. No, let's have a bit. Let's poke a few eyes. Let's slag off a few mums in the crowd. Let's have a little bit of needle in these games. Right? I'm being a bit like facetious with that, but we need a little bit. We need a little bit more of it. And I also think social media has played a part this year. We have created a very toxic culture online. We are all accountable, including me, when it comes to football. And I said a comment earlier, it made everyone on the panel laugh, and it made me realize I was right. I'm really excited about Man United summer and next season. And it was, why? And I've realized that nobody cares about the journey. We're creating this notion of, well, unless the goal leads to a win and the win leads to a trophy, I'm not even going to be that happy. I've seen Liverpool fans for 2 months barely look happy on camera. You're about to win the Prem. They're not that bothered. And there's this weird thing of, yeah, but you're going to win, but it ain't a treble though, is it? I was expecting it. We've created this weird environment online where if the win doesn't lead to a massive honor or a historical victory and achievement, well, it doesn't really mean nothing, does it? It's weird. We have lost something in our game, the online fans, that is. So I think there is this lack of infused. The league hasn't been great, granted. There hasn't been the needle and the drama, granted. But even as fans, everybody just feels a bit, oh, we won, yay.
I think people are scared to express how they want to feel on camera because they're like, oh, what does social media say we should feel like as fans? They're more focused on that than how they actually feel.
No, I agree. I agree with you. And I just feel that if you're going to say things, if you're going to not give a true, honest opinion of how you feel on camera, don't give one. Just enjoy the football and enjoy people that do. And, Henry, you should. I look at United, for example. I have no guarantees any of us are going to make us the best team in the world. I don't know if Ruben Amorim's good enough to get us over the line. But I just over the course of this weekend, I thought about this really deeply. I'm just going to enjoy what might come. I'm going to enjoy a good performance here and there and a win there. And I'll criticize things that go wrong. But I think I'm over what I see some Man United fans do at the minute. Basically this. I'm going to stay angry every day, every stream, until my team does what I want it to do. My advice actually is stop watching football, mate. I'm 40 years old. My hair transplant will fall out. I'll go grey at least, or I'll get a fucking heart attack. And when I think about it logically, the only time fans were like that on a regular basis ever in my lifetime growing up was if their club was in financial difficulties and could be going out of business. Nobody was ever that angry all the time because their club wasn't Real Madrid. And the irony is, there's a reason you fell in love with football in the first place. And it wasn't generally because of trophies, unless you will when you picked Real Madrid. But even you wouldn't pick Real Madrid because of, as a joke, you only picked Real Madrid because of your love for James Rodriguez. So if he'd have joined Porto, you might have become a Porto fan.
Lucky bastard.
And but I just sort of feel
I thought he was the best player in the world.
Imagine if he joined.
I thought he was the best in the world.
Or if he joined United, where they are right now.
Can you imagine? But I'm just going to finish off by saying this. I'm not saying, because again, what I'm saying will get taken out of context. Of course, criticize when your team plays badly. It's fine to say a manager ain't good enough. It's okay to call out your owners. I will still do those things. But we have created this notion, and I like, Nottingham Forest has been a standout for me in this. Everybody's going, oh my God, look what they're doing. I want my team to go from being in a relegation battle to being in the top four. But you're ignoring the 8 years it took to build to get them to this stage. And they made some mistakes along the way, hiring the wrong manager here, or maybe a bad signing. But there has been I'm going to use the words that really trigger people. There has been a process. There have been phases. Villa are the same. There has been to get them to where they are. no one just goes from being shit to doing what they're doing like this. It doesn't happen. And I just feel as fans, if we create this narrative that's very new, that's been spawned out of social media, that I'm only going to be happy when we're at or near the pinnacle, you're probably going to find the next 60, 70, 80 years of your footballing life very painful, because there's only really 3 or 4 clubs that for that amount of times have stayed up near the top across the whole of European football. Real Madrid, to probably throw Barca in there, Bayern Munich. How many teams actually stay up near the top? Equally, you could fall in love with a team. Maybe that league loses its money. Because once upon a time, the Eredivisie was amazing. So if you lose that money and suddenly no longer can you financially compete with the European players, so you can't ever become champions of Europe again, what, you're just going to go, well, the standards are too low now, I'm just going to be miserable forever? I just think we've become a little bit warped, a little bit polarized, and a little bit extreme with it. And I think you couple that all in, I think that's one of the reasons why this season feels a little bit boring to a lot of people. We've set standards that are almost impossible to achieve for 95% of teams, and I'm not going to be happy until I achieve them. Bruv, it's crazy.
Yeah, but
social media's meant you can't enjoy the journey of football season anymore. It's a football season. If all that mattered was just the numbers on a table at the end of the season, there's no point in doing the 9 months beforehand to figure that out. There's no point in getting engaged in the 9 months. Just turn up on the last day of the season, have a look at the table, go, oh, I should be happy, or oh, I should be sad, and then move on. The journey of football is why we all love it. You remember the moments, because one of the stupidest things that happens, if your team is in a title race, for example, or your team is in a cup run and you lose in the semi-final, or you lose in the final, you're not allowed to remember anything positive about it. Or if you finish second, you're not allowed to remember anything positive about that season. You're not allowed to have good memories. You finish second, that's that. Try hard the next time.
The issue is not enough people that create content have enough backbone to stand by what they believe in it. Like, nobody can make me feel bad about going crazy at my team scoring a last-minute winner. No one can say, you're over-celebrating. I'll be like, what do you mean? Like, no one can make me feel bad about that.
And that's a great point. All the over-celebrating nonsense that keeps being called out. Again, these things, I think these things have helped to kill a big and important part of our game. And I took the kids out this afternoon. We went on this Winnie the Pooh trail where you go through the forest and these Winnie the Pooh things. They loved it. And I just thought about football from the kids are really excited. I was quite excited to go with them. I was going with my brother, my nieces, nephews. It was good fun. And I'm driving there and I'm like, imagine you treated every car journey like certain football fans treat football. It would mean the whole time I'm in the car, I'm fuming and screaming and angry until I arrive on where I'm going. It was like, no, we took the roof off the car. It was a sunny day. We enjoyed the scenery. We drove through the countryside. We enjoyed that as much as we did getting there. And this is the thing, it's polarization. I'm not saying, because what you'll get is what you're saying, I shouldn't hold my club accountable if they go through a bad period. You're saying I shouldn't say a manager should be sacked if he isn't good enough for us. No, you can have those conversations. But if that same manager you want out does brilliantly the next game, you win 3-0 and play well, enjoy that day.
But it is a bit performative on both ends, though, Terry. Like, with the people that over-celebrate, let's not act like if you're not on camera with, like, I don't know, like 30 people watching, you probably wouldn't have celebrated like that, or you wouldn't be as negative if you weren't on camera. I think that there is a bit of, like, overindulgence on both parts, right? Because, like,
that's true.
Because, we all make content here, right? And if you do, like, watch-alongs, for example, the way that you might react because there's 200 people in your stream, it's probably going to be a little bit more played up than how it would be if you were just on your couch watching the game.
Do you know what's interesting though, Will? But I that's what I see that when I look at some of the originators in this space who have been behaving the same way before anyone knew what the word viral meant, and they're still making content the same way. I see other people that come out of nowhere, and it's very similar to other YouTubers that I like watching. You know, it's like some people think my laugh is fake. I mean, you guys have backs, unless I'm like one of those old-fashioned like magicians that stays in character 24/7. You've all seen me backstage. I laugh the same backstage. Some of you have met me in person. I laugh the same in person. Tom lived with me for 2.5 weeks. I'm the same person on camera as I am off. A lot of people are not, Will. And I do get that. Some people will perform. And there are some people that will be over-positive. And when there is a problem, won't call it out. And I think there is a bigger problem. The TPFs, I coin the phrase, the toxic positivity fans. They're every bit as bad. It's about people not being authentic and about people not being honest about football. And the reason why I call it out is that's just never how it was until the last 3 or 4 years of the social media era. Nobody, it didn't matter who they were. I had friends who'd pay hundreds of pounds to go to a game, team would get battered. You'd see them Monday morning at work. They weren't fuming like somebody is on the stream 5 days later. Oh, I still like calm down. Who are you? What are you talking about? No one ever stayed that angry for that long, ever. No one. No one.
How do you think? Like, my anger for Ange at times overrules everything else for this football club. I wasn't like this under Conte or Nuno or Poch. There's something about this manager that...
but it's because you're doing it for TikTok views, Henry. You're doing it for TikTok.
Oh, right, yeah. I've not even spoken about it on TikTok for a fucking week. But
yeah, but do you know what it is? But this is the thing, right? So this is what I would say. Again, I'm not policing what anyone should or shouldn't do. People are feel free to do whatever you want. I'm just giving my opinion on as a contributing factor for people feeling down about things. Because I think what people do is they do what you've done, and then they go, shit, this is what I think happens. And it's not a dig. I've said that now. I've calmed down. And maybe I don't feel like that about the whole club. But if I now talk about other things, people will say I'm a flip-flop and I'll get criticized for it. When actually, again, forget those very noisy minority groups of people that are going to call you out. Because they're going to call you out no matter what. There are people that hate you, Henry, online. On a daily basis. But Henry, if it turned out that you invented chemotherapy, some people will call you a wanker for making people bald. There are certain people out there that just dislike you. No, it's true. There are people that are that weird, right? You need to ignore them because you know the vast majority of your viewers also go through the same emotions as you. I will in a game. I'll call a player. I did it when I don't do watch-alongs really, but when Højlund got put through against Leicester, I was live still. And I went, "Oh, he's through." My words were, "What's this prick gonna do?" I don't think he's a prick. I was just my nervous energy and tension in that moment. Then he scored and I celebrated. And then you get, "Oh, what you think he should stay now?" No,
or I'm happy he scored. Why are you celebrating against?
You can really, really have an honest conversation where in that moment after a game you're very angry and you say something. 2 days later, and there's a great YouTuber, moment, isn't it? There's a great YouTuber that people should watch when it comes to MMA. His name is Chow Sunnit. He was actually a great fighter as well, and he does like instant reactions when fight's over, and then he does this brilliant piece of content, and it's my favorite thing he does. It's always a day or two later where it will say like Idral Adesanya versus Duplessis, my retake. And it's him reassessing what he thinks after the fight when he's watched it again, when the emotions are lower. And I'd say 80% is the same, but there's these brilliant little nuances, new things that he's noticed, new things that he's seen, and it's compelling content. And I just think content creators, for the part we play, I am guilty of this. We've got to try to, we ain't perfect. Our viewers don't expect us to be, and you don't lose your audience for changing your mind. As long as you address it, they're not going to care. Oh, I thought this. Actually, I think this now, after learning that, it's about being honest, I think. And I actually think we'll all enjoy football that little bit more as well. I think people hold back what they really think. Oh, because I said this once and I'm going to get cooked if I say that. And I think this is amplified to a massive level. I really do. I really think it's a problem. Sonnet's mic, yeah, Sonnet was absolutely brilliant guy. Henry, Terry, you're jealous of your Barnett, mate. Don't take it personally.
I wouldn't even be jealous of this, mate.
Yeah, it's a bit grey. It's a bit grey. Although I did see a grey hair the other day. Viewers, make sure you hit the like and the share button. I've got a few super chats here to do. First one says Liverpool gave Arsenal a guard of honour at Anfield in 1998. So as an Arsenal fan, I expect us to show the same level of class if the occasion occurs.
That's a proper super chat. I'm sorry. I think that's a classy super chat. I think a guard of honour is part of what makes our game the game that it is, and it is a bit of class. And you can sit there and shake your head, Will, but you're a Real Madrid fan. You're not part of the Premier League.
I mean, I just think it's weird. That's all.
I thought
it's a sign of respect.
Yeah,
it's a sign of respect to go, you know what, fair play. We battled it out over the season, and you were better than us.
All right, so you won.
I prefer that it's at Anfield, not the Emirates.
You have the trophy to show that you won.
That was Van Persie got the guard of honour.
It's a respect thing. I get it.
I get it.
I feel like that's like a small club thing. Given
Sam here said, "What is happening to Chelsea is what happened to Leicester last season. Good start to the season, then really struggled once they figured out Maresca." Listen, I understand that claim, and I think it holds some water, and he's not innocent in this. But had they gone out in January and bought Osimhen, and just using him as an example, I think they would have bagged top four no problem if they had a goal scorer like that in their team. TM here says you have to look at the sporting. My phone just started playing music randomly by itself. That's so weird. My phone does that. I could hear a bit of Justin Timberlake coming through. Now the torches come on. What's going on here? It's possessed. You have to look at the CD for recruitment from the summer of 2024. 2 of these signings are out the door, and no one else has contributed at all. Then you have you have an inexperienced manager handling their first Premier League. Yeah, I think Chelsea fans calling out their sporting directors are absolutely spot on as well. I think it's one thing at Chelsea. I don't think it's just the players or just the manager or just them. It is a combination of things as to why they've fallen off this season. It's a great super chat, TM. Critiquing our performance is fine, but don't gaslight us on Man United's horrific position and performances. Wherever I said that. See, this is it. I'm excited about what might happen because I'm liking the base about how we're playing. I can see what the manager's doing, but we have to get the recruitment correct. The preseason has to go well. I'm very aware of this, but that's not gaslighting. It's giving an opinion, my friend. You know, you're not in a Fritzl dungeon being told what to think. You know, you've got freedom of expression here. It's the opposite of gaslighting, my friend. But yes, and I also didn't compare anything to do with Chelsea. I've also said that Chelsea have had Man United, have had a much more horrific season than Chelsea. So I appreciate the super chat again, DJ. But you seem to be very hurt by the facts surrounding your club, and you lie about things I've said.
This is the trouble with online fans, you see. If I criticise Chelsea, I get, but you're Tottenham, you've got no right to criticise Chelsea. But I'm not criticising them as a Tottenham fan. I'm just criticising as a football fan. As a Tottenham fan, I've got no right to criticise anyone except Southampton, of course. Apart from that, I can't criticise anybody.
I hear you on that. It's teams like Forest. It's teams like Forest why people consider the Premier League the most competitive. It's the unpredictability of the league. Yeah, listen, and there is that in there. But I still think if Forest would have had the same season with predominantly the same amount of wins, but Chelsea, Tottenham, and Arsenal, just as an example, would have all hit the levels that were expected of them, they might be in 6th or 7th position. So their season again wouldn't appear as good. And I'm just putting that out there. So I think it's a combination of things. Forest deserve a lot of praise, my friend. Terry, you contribute to what you're complaining about. Well, I said that. I literally didn't separate myself from it, my friend. I'm not sitting here again, all other YouTubers bad, me, Terry, perfect. I literally said we. So again, I'm not saying, I'm just saying I thought about something a lot over the weekend. And I even said about debates. When it comes to arguments on the terrace, something we're going to try to push a lot now is if Henry says Pep's overrated and gives his reason why, if Tom wants to address that point, I don't want 15 minutes talking about something else. It's address the argument or we move on. Because I think we don't even do enough of that in debates anymore. It's, well, my view versus your view. I don't want my view versus your view every week. I'm bored of it. It's, let me challenge your argument as opposed to my view is better than yours, because you're never going to change each other's minds. Let's debate the argument. I'll continue reading it, though. It says about you just said weird that Chelsea fans aren't panicking, then go on about all fans being angry. You rile people up. Well, again, I didn't say all Chelsea fans are panicking. I'm not saying they should all be panicking. What I asked for, if you listen to what I said, I said I would be in that situation because I think you really need the Champions League because your performances are not where they need to be. One, that doesn't mean if you win a game, you shouldn't celebrate. Didn't say that. Two, what I've asked for is your argument against what I'm saying. If you're not stressed about it or worried, that is fine. I would love to hear your rationale as to why, so we could have a grown-up, sensible conversation. And I appreciate the super chats and the donation, brother. I do. But you're still not presenting me for the past 4 weeks with a reason other than we're in 4th. So it's hard for me to change my mind and become more educated when you give me very little substance about why you think. Remember in life, the what is basic, the what is easy. My daughter can tell me she feels sad. She might be able to articulate a little bit around the why because she break down all her emotional feelings. No, she's a 6-year-old. You as a grown-up football fan, break it down, go into detail, educate me, enlighten me, illuminate my mind in Chelsea blue, my friend. Chow, undisputed, undefeated, never lost a round. Yeah, he lies about that, but he's brilliant at lying. The Premier League has scored 120 more goals than La Liga.
So then I expect a Premier League team to win the Champions League, the Europa League.
Hey, you took that one personally, didn't you, Will? Jeez.
Well, because there's a reason why he didn't put the Bundesliga. I mean, come on now.
I mean,
Liga
there's no Bundesliga fan here, so why would he talk about the Bundesliga?
No, because like Kunle said that I took it personal, so I said I feel like it was addressing me, so that's why I answered to it.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Hello, Nobbins. Welcome to the show.
Hello, how are you? Yes, I was just saying the first thing I heard from the show was like talking about Fritzl Dungeon, so I didn't really know what was going on. But yeah, I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, it was based on everybody overusing the word gaslighting, if I'm being honest with you. I think that word just gets used so much. Like me giving an opinion and then giving somebody the space to give their opinion is now considered gaslighting. I'm like, well, that's for me, that's the kind of the opposite of gaslighting someone. But that's just my interpretation. But Nobbin, now you're here, we need to ask you, why did Pep get it so wrong yesterday? Why was there no intensity? Why were you not trying to win when you need that Champions League spot, brother? What was wrong with you yesterday?
I don't know. I can't answer why did Pep do what he did, because he does what he wants to do. He would have had a reason to do it, I'm sure. But it just I've just like finished the video now. I've just been like trying to analyze the game like from a tactical lens, and just like everything that could have gone wrong did. In terms of like what Pep did, the lineup was confusing, but I let that go because it worked against Bournemouth. It's like, okay, fine, I'll reserve judgment. But then it was just so obvious so quickly, like from like the first 5 seconds in, when I was like, wait, why we? So City normally play a 4-4-2, yeah, off ball, and we played 4-3-3. You know, again in the derby yesterday. I can't remember the last time we actually did that. I think it's been years since we've done that. Certainly in a big game. Now, that means that that just played into United's natural width because they have a very wide system. So it meant that our widest central midfielders, Gundogan and Bernardo, had an impossible task to do. And so, I don't know why Pep did it. Again, he will have his reasons. I fundamentally disagree with it. I thought it was a bad system to choose. I thought it was a bad midfield three to select. I thought it was bad substitutions to make. And I think that everything that could have gone wrong, he did get wrong, to be honest with you. I can't and won't defend him. I think he got nearly everything wrong yesterday.
Nobbins,
why do you not play Nico Gonzalez?
That's another one. I don't know, mate. I don't know. That would have been the most obvious thing to do.
All season's a DM, and then in one of the biggest games you got left of the season, he just refuses to play the DM.
I don't know, because he started. I think he started every other Premier League game this season. I think.
Do you think he's panicking?
I don't know. I think that maybe, speaking of being gaslit, maybe he was gaslit by the Bournemouth performance when we did play all the older players. And he was like, right, these lads have still got something for me here. I'm going to throw them in. I'm sort of half joking, but I actually don't know, because that performance against Bournemouth was really good by, De Bruyne, Kova, Gundo, Bernardo. They did play well that day.
But Bournemouth have actually been off the boil a little bit, haven't they, recently as well? If you actually look at their performances, and that's not taking nothing away from you.
No, of course.
It isn't the Bournemouth of 2 months ago.
Yeah. So I don't have the answer to your question, Tom, because all City fans have been asking that as well. When the lineup came out, was why isn't Nico starting? And then again, you can go, right, he didn't start against Bournemouth. We played well, okay, but then why didn't he come on at halftime or at the 60th minute, or when United were starting to, like certainly the last 20, 30 minutes when it was only United who looked like scoring a goal? Why didn't Nico come on? I don't know. I don't have an answer.
It's actually quite sad watching De Bruyne now as well. Like I know that he's announced he's going, but from what he was just like a couple of seasons ago, those two hamstring injuries back to back in the Champions League final and in the first game of the next season against Burnley, they killed him.
Yeah. Well, he sacrificed his body so we could win the treble, basically, because he picked up that hamstring injury in like the Bayern Munich quarterfinal, I think. But then he carried on and played through it, and then ultimately it fell off entirely in Istanbul. And yeah, you're right. Unless he gets like a full week's rest isn't enough. Like it was a really energetic performance against Bournemouth. He didn't feature against Leicester, had the whole week, and he still looked shattered. It's sad that he's leaving, but I think it's clear that sadly, he just can't physically do it anymore, and that comes in his shots as well. Sorry, Terry.
It's no, it is. Like, if I take the Man United hat off, it's sad to see when top. I mean, I've been called out for my list of ranking the midfielders. I have him as number 2 in overall central midfielders in Premier League history. And Potsy actually called me out on it, and I thought the most sensible way. He was like, I wouldn't have DMs, CMs, and attacking midfielders in the same list. And I'm like, no, you're right. If I just did attacking midfielders in the EPL history, KDB's number 1 for me. So it is sad to see players like drop. At the same time, the United fan in me is like, it really makes me appreciate Ryan Giggs and Paul Scholes, who went on into their late 30s and 40s. Just from a, not even a dig perspective, just how the fuck did they do it? Maldini's, and how the hell did they do it? When you see Gerrard got to about 33 and his body went, no more. Do you know what I mean? And it's...
You know what's sadder to see?
Modric, look at Modric at his age. It's crazy when they. I think as well. It's the different positions, but yeah, it's crazy.
De Bruyne, in fairness, I think he would have been able to do that because he does have because I think it was can't remember if it was like last year or maybe the year. It was basically before the hamstring injury. We were talking about, or like people on my chat were talking about, how much longer can De Bruyne stay at City for? And at the time, I was going, well, back in his heyday, in like the late 90s, Paul Scholes was not this sort of deep-lying playmaker that we now really know him as. He was a much more dynamic sort of player like what De Bruyne was then. So I proposed, and similar thing to a lesser extent with Pirlo. So my thought was, well, as he ages, he's not really going to lose his passing ability. Drop him slightly deeper and protect him like a Pirlo or a Scholes. But the sad reality is that he doesn't really have he can't generate the power to make those passes, to hit those passes anymore, and to take those shots anymore, because athletically he's just cooked. And he's leaving this season. It's probably the correct.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, it's Mina obviously got a lot of stick when she suggested that he could go to Saudi, and it's still real bozos. Like, well, she said he's going Saudi. There's no guarantee of that. How was she right? She's more just given an example of where he could go. But I think a lot of people could see at the end of last season, like KDB just wasn't the same player anymore. And it's always better to go out as a hero than it is to stay too long and drag a team down. And
if we can win him the FA Cup, then
it goes out on
a
high. Yeah.
But what's sad for me to see
about that Saudi prediction, because that's generally where washed players go, right? You get a big fat paycheck, and he's going to probably end up with Ronaldo, and he'll probably do really well in that league. I don't really see what this. Or
nobody retires at San Diego.
There's links to San Diego FC right here, like in America.
Do you know what it is to me though? I'll be honest with you, Will.
Big clubs are looking at him.
I know you don't like the honor and respect part of sport. I feel like when someone's a legend like KDB, I don't even like the term wash being used near him. Like, genuinely, for me, it's
I hear it. I'm with you, Terry.
It's one of these ones where there's certain players across my rivals as well. I just don't think they should ever be called like Usain Bolt as a sprinter. There was a time where he wasn't the same guy. Oh, he's washed now. It's like, how fucking dare you talk about it? You ever seen that scene where Harry Potter? You see when Harry Potter?
Will,
you know when Harry Potter stands there and says to Snape, "How dare you stood where he did?" I feel like that. It's that moment of how dare you use that word next to it. Certain athletes, I think they should be given dignity in those moments, if that makes sense.
But Terry, do you know what's really upsetting to me? And I'm sure KDB is going through it too. Is the kid that he's passing the keys to the city to is not ready. He's not ready to take.
How the fuck is it every stream an Arsenal fan brings up Phil Foden? Every single stream without
not ready
fail.
to take the keys. Bro.
He's not going to be the guy they're passing it on to.
If there was ever a game where I thought he'd be ready to step up, it's the Manchester.
There's a German at Bayer Leverkusen.
Where was Philip yesterday?
He's going to be like glue.
Where was Philip?
I'm going to go get my popcorn.
Saka's back. You can stop talking about Foden.
Brother, you've won the league. This doesn't concern you, bro.
4 months straight of Foden talk from Arsenal fans.
Can I ask you a question, Nobbins? I know you've defended Foden a lot this year. We all saw that he was poor yesterday, right? But on a real one, do you think he's gonna get back to his very best for City, or are you and or other City fans starting to worry about the longer term future of Phil Foden?
I'd be worried if it was a season where everyone else was like firing and playing well. But our player of the year is a player who for 2 months was letting in a goal every other game due to a defensive error. That's Gavardio, by the way. That's our player of the season. That's the standard that we're talking about. So I'm not too concerned with a drop in form for a season after 5 or 6 years of being a good player. If it happens again next season, then I would be concerned. But the context of the season, the context of what we all know he is as a player, in the same way, I'm not really concerned about Guardiola, making errors this season, so long as it doesn't happen next season as well.
Yeah. And just to point this out to you, so I want to say very quickly. So Staffy said last night on the match reaction that Pep is at the beginning of being washed, and it's like beginning of the end for Pep. I just want to point out that Staffy said that.
Oh, I'm gonna have words. It's too early to say that. I'm going to reserve judgment until Pep is given a again. There's no excuse not playing Nico, but again, there's still the midfield does need to be rebuilt. Let's reserve again. I'm going to reserve judgment until the summer window. We'll see what fresh blood comes in, and then we'll see what happens. If he doesn't challenge for the title, and in my view, probably should win the title next season, then yeah, I will be concerned. And maybe I'll
third with an FA Cup in his worst season in the Prem.
But that just shows the quality of how it's been this season.
Yeah,
or be finishing that high.
Or conversely, we get knocked out by Forest and finish 6th. It's very fine margins.
I'm praying on that. That's great for the legacy debate. That's great for the Fergie Pep legacy debate.
Chill.
That's a quick question for you, bro.
Can you be washed if you won a treble 2 years ago? Though? I don't get. Can you be washed if you won a treble 2 years ago?
Staffy says. Wow, snitch.
But Nobbins, do you think that Pep Guardiola is a bit of an overrated manager?
Sorry, just very quickly, Staffy, you said it in front of 4,500 people watching the show. Just want to point that out.
Yeah, but I wasn't one of those 4,500. That's what he's saying.
Yeah,
very
so
well.
Nobbins, quick question, bro. Like, do you think that Pep is a little bit just overrated, just like in general, in terms of like not being able to like adopt when there's some controversy that's going on?
You can never ask
like
City
kind of
this
like
question,
always
bro.
needing
Waste of a question, bro.
Well,
you can.
Well, no. But I'm asking it because like how City have been struggling this season, right? They've spent all that money in January. It's still not getting better, right? And then you're probably going to go drop like another 200 million. I feel like that kind of does take away from him, like as a manager, like when you think about it, because it's like not everybody's as fortunate to have as much money as he's had. But it seems like the only way for him to be competitive is if he drops like few $100 million like every summer or something.
Terry, I clocked it. I was trying to figure out what's going on with this situation, but Pep was once at Barcelona, right? So I was wondering what Will is always
do with what I'm saying.
It's really funny here. Hang on. Do you know what's really funny? What I'm seeing with Kunle and with Will here, it's the Spider-Man meme. You only bring up Foden to boost up Saka. We see you there. It's like Hassam only ever slags off Scholes because he's got to keep Gerrard number one. And of course, this question about Pep being overrated.
To be fair though, Terry, did I not say on this
Foden
channel?
He's actually having a bad season.
By the way, Terry, did I not say on this channel a few months ago that I would take Pep at Madrid? I said it like
you did. And I think what's really interesting for me, I will go.
You don't like Carlo Ancelotti.
You take who's your most successful manager ever, by the way.
So you take a wash manager at Madrid.
Yeah, no, I feel like this thing here. I feel like this thing with Pep is. I think the question about him being overrated, I think it can only be applied, Nobbins, in the context of nitpicking between the goats, if that makes sense. In terms of the next few years is going to show it. Like, if you don't get the recruitment right, can he get you back to purring? I suppose that's maybe a little bit of a concern because if you get the recruitment right and he has because a lot of the accusations are unless he has the exact right team and fit and players, he can't make his teams purr to the highest level. And I suppose the next couple of seasons is going to be a little bit of a test for that, is it not?
But isn't that what we've seen this season? Rodrygo goes down, and now it's like it's just over.
But it's one year, isn't it? It's 1 year.
Yeah. Well, no.
Yeah,
what I'm saying from this year.
I think that I don't like the idea that there's got to be a perfect squad, otherwise you can't get a tune out of them. Because we didn't have a striker for a couple of years, and we won the league. So I don't know how we haven't had a proper left back.
A year, relax, It's a year.
It was 2. we haven't had an actual left back in a millennia.
That's how little he rates Gabriel Jesus, by the way. Jesus was at the football club both of them years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he was on the right wing. He was on the right wing.
Yeah, this season again, for me, there have been tactical issues, and Pep hasn't been good enough at times, and I have criticised him accordingly. I thought last season there were tactical issues, and I thought we were fortunate to win the league. I've touched on that before, and I criticised him then. But you win the league, so you sort of forget about it. I think it's far too early to be introducing the overrated word. I think we need to chill on that. Look, if it happens next season after he brings in a lot of very good players and it's still the same issues, then I think we can have that conversation.
If you guys drop 300 million this summer and this time next year you're in a similar position, similar amount of losses, that conversation is going to be coming thick and fast, right? You need to get prepared for that. You need to be getting the research ready and everything.
Yes,
I've been doing that today. The next time Hassan tries to slag off Paul Scholes, I've been going back to the 90s finding articles. He tried to make some accusations today. No, because he made an accusation today that in the 90s no one cared about him, and I actually read some really great stuff about him today that I never even thought of. But anyway, I guess because when you're like 8 years old, you're not reading The Guardian, are you? Well, maybe Nobbins was. He's quite posh, but there we go. Before moving on, a player linked to Man United today, but also I think Liverpool, Chelsea heavily linked with him as well. Liam, I keep calling him Rory, but it's Liam Delap. Linked. What do you just very before we go on to the Arsenal Real Madrid conversation? What do you all think about the idea of a big club? No disrespect to which a big club in England that really needs a goal scorer going for Liam Delap. The reports this afternoon are suggesting that he's going to be Man United's #1 target this summer. Chance, what would he be like for United? But more broadly, do you think he's good enough to lead the line for any of those big teams I mentioned?
Definitely. Definitely good
United,
enough.
Definitely.
Chelsea's good enough.
Yeah, he's probably. Chelsea should be aiming for higher than Liam Delap, but compared to who they've got at the minute, he'd be good enough. In terms of where Chelsea, United are comparing him to Højlund, for Christ's sake. Three Premier League goals. I was on a stream earlier and we were going through the list of players who've outscored Rasmus Højlund this year. Beto's got double the goals. Like the list is horrendous. So Liam Delap, I think Liam Delap has 4 times the amount of goals that Højlund does in the Premier League this year. He'd 100% go in and lead that line for United and give them what they need in terms of the physical presence up top. At Chelsea, it could work, but I do think they should be aiming for a little bit higher than Delap. If he comes in, it'll be a really good player. For us, I'd take him, but I don't think he'd join us because I don't think he could be the guaranteed starter at Liverpool. If we brought in Liam Delap as our main 9 this summer, I'd be disappointed. I do think we need to be doing better than Liam Delap. But if we were in an ideal world and I could bring Delap in to be the second choice striker, I'd love it. But he can do better than that. I think being the starter at United at the point of his career where he is, it's probably better than being the rotation striker for a Liverpool or a Chelsea maybe. So, look, he's impressed in a very bad Ipswich team. To get 12 goals in that team, which barely creates it, it's very impressive. But I don't think he's quite ready just yet to lead the line for a team that has aspirations of a title in that way.
You could get Solanke vibes and have sort of a bit of a one season where he stands out and then he goes to a sort of bigger club and he's a bit of a failure. I like the look of him. I think he's got 12 goals this season, something like that. But I mean, I would have thought Man United would be aiming higher than that. No disrespect to him, but let's see. I think it's a risk myself.
I think we may have ideals for it, and I like Gyökeres, I like Osimhen, but I think there's finances, there's who else is coming in for these individuals as an example. I think there's a combination of things. Again, proper United fans who know where we are understand that we are United by name, and there is an attraction there. And look, if you look at our last 4 or 5 matches, look at yesterday against City. If we had Delap or Osimhen in our team yesterday. If we had Cunha in our team yesterday instead of Garnacho, I think we win the game. And you can say that about a number of matches recently for us. Forest, we have more than enough chances to score, just no one that can put the ball in the fucking net. I like Delap. I'm always a little bit concerned, as you say, because it's one season. So if he'd have done this for 2 or 3 years, where it's 12 goals, 15 goals, loads of assists. There's that there, but I like him. But equally, I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, he's going to be an absolute superstar. I would still prefer the more experienced attackers that we've been linked to, the Osimhen's of this world, the Victor Gyökeres's. But Gyökeres to Arsenal looks like it's going to happen when you read some of the stories that have come out today. Osimhen, I've got a feeling the Saudis are going to offer ridiculous money for him. I think he's going to be offered a contract that none of us are going to get anywhere near. I've got a feeling he might end up going there, which is strange because I think some clubs in England and clubs across Europe should be throwing money. I like him. I really, really do. But I
think Barcelona will throw huge money at him.
Well, Osimhen.
Barcelona don't have the money to throw at anyone. They keep getting told every month they can't register half the players.
Yeah, we hear this all the time, and then they somehow find a way.
They're running out of leverage to pull. In the same way Chelsea are trying to sell all this other stuff. Barca have sold the stuff. They've got no more stuff to sell.
Yeah, but if they win the league this season and maybe get to a Champions League final, which is likely that side of the draw, they'll have a lot of money to spend.
I don't know. Listen, I don't know with Barcelona. There comes a point where their finances are going to end up tripping them up. They keep getting away with it, and then it's every time it gets worse and worse. I think Dani Olmo and that can't be registered again now, can they?
Oh, about 4 times this year they've been told they're not allowed to be registered. I think the government stepped in this time and said no, they have a right to work, so they can be registered.
And they might get a deal like this done, but listen,
the government is stepping in. That's how bad it's got.
Yeah, no, it's crazy what they're doing over there. It's genuinely crazy. It really, really is. Maybe they can sell their women's team back to themselves. That's the next step. Maybe they can do.
Team like unbelievable. Have they won 20 odd league titles or something stupid?
It's the best team in the world by a long way. But
yeah,
again, can Barca afford to buy their own women's team? Did they have enough money to at least buy it?
Yeah, no, listen, that one's an interesting one because I like him, but it's just equally, I think Man United fans have got to keep their feet firmly on the ground if we get him. Plus, there's a lot of competition. Spurs are looking at him, Liverpool supposedly. Chelsea appear to be high up on the list, and Chelsea have had a habit. Listen, they've signed a number of players ahead of us in the last 20 years, but they've had a habit in the last few years under Clearlake of pretty much landing all the players they go for. So I wouldn't be so, if he's guaranteed first team football and they offer him an 8-year contract, do you know what I'm saying? And then they can still offer them. They just can't monetize the deal for that long, but they offer him an 8-year deal on 120 grand a week. A lot of these players want to take it because it's a guarantee of money as well. And it's not a dig at Chelsea. It's just their business model. So viewers, give us your thoughts on Delap. Where would be the best club for him? Where do you see him potentially going? Would love to get your thoughts and opinions on that. Tomorrow night is a massive game in the Champions League, the biggest in Arsenal's recent history after the rebuild under the stewardship of Mikel Arteta. How do you see the game, Will? You're a Real Madrid fan. How do you see the game at the Emirates tomorrow night going?
1-1 draw. I think, like I'll be surprised if we beat them at the Emirates. Just to be very honest with you guys, we are trash. We can't defend in transition. We're awful from set pieces. We're actually very lucky that Gabriel is injured because he might have been the first player to score a hat trick, all from corners, free kicks, whatever it is, because we can't defend it. Just the team this entire season, I can't name more than maybe 4 performances where we've actually looked good. Now, I know that it's the Champions League, and usually that stuff goes out the window, but you do have to account the form that the team is coming into it on. And I think with my manager, who's an absolute fraud, we have no tactics. There's no adjustments. It's just the power of friendship and individual brilliance that gets us over the line because there's nothing else to our game. I can't even tell you how we're going to play tomorrow because we don't have one way of playing. There's actually no way of playing. We just do whatever we want. The players.
That makes you unpredictable, though, does it not?
Yeah, I mean, it makes it unpredictable, but it's also very jarring, right? We just lost to Valencia.
Yeah, but you were bad. You were very wasteful.
Real Sociedad came to the Bernabeu, Copa del Rey semifinals. We're up 1-0, second leg at our ground. They scored 4 goals on us. This is the same team that got cooked by Manchester United.
Is it Ozzy Apal? He's the striker, isn't he? Is it Ozzy Apal? Their number 9.
Yes.
He was absolutely ridiculous.
You
didn't play Asensio against Valencia. You didn't play.
No.
So you centre-back pairing of Tchouaméni and Rodrygo. You can't play that against Arsenal. You have to. Asensio's got to come back in.
Who?
You played Tchouaméni and Rodrygo, didn't you, against Valencia?
Yeah. But Tchouaméni suspended for this first leg, so he's not available.
You rested,
but it will be Asensio because it has to be. He's been our best defender this season. I think. Look, how it goes. I think Arsenal will look like the better team for a majority of the game. I think that we score first, and then I think that Arsenal get an equalizer. I think it ends 1-1 first leg. And I think that we beat them at the Bernabeu. But this is the best time to play us. For anybody that just thinks that because it's Real Madrid, we're going to show up, we're going to put 5 past them, and we're going to just walk out of there with the convincing, then you've not been watching us this season. You're more so just going off of what you expect from us in this competition. But it's not been good.
I hear that. Tom, who do you think is Arsenal's most important player for this first leg tie?
They need to win that midfield battle. They really need to win that midfield battle. And for that reason, I'm going to say it's Declan Rice. Declan Rice is going to be the guy. Because I'm just going by from what I've seen. It's apparently, Valverde's going to have to go to right back. Or Camavinga's going to have to go to left back. They can't play Valverde, Camavinga together. So by the looks of it, Modric is going to have to start. Modric is a legend of the game. But he is quite old now, and he is a little bit slow, and you can bully him. So I think for Arsenal, it's going to be about... Arsenal aren't going to play Real Madrid off the park. Even if Real Madrid, they're as bad as Will is making out, and it's just Care Bear FC, no tactics, just vibes. They still have the technical quality to beat any team on the planet. Arsenal's strength is in their physicality. They're a very physical team. I think Arsenal needs to use that, and I think Declan Rice is going to be key to setting that off. I would also say Odegaard, but Odegaard's been that bad this year. On paper, Odegaard should be the guy who's able to play the balls in between the lines to get the wingers into the dangerous pockets, but he's been so bad this year that I can't say, he's going to be the guy that Arsenal can rely on. I can't see the wingers because Saka, I know he's back, but he's not 100%. Martinelli, you don't know what you're going to get with him. The centre backs, I feel like Saliba. One thing about it, Saliba with the job he's got with Kivior alongside him. Kivior's going to need to be guided through that game a fair amount. Do
you not think Timber will play?
And then who else? Ben White,
Skelly, and then one side, and Ben White the other side.
Ben White's played like 100 minutes since November. You don't play someone who's not played that much football in the Champions League quarterfinal first leg.
Didn't he start against Everton?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, but
I feel like that's with him starting in mind.
I get a lot of what you guys are saying. I don't want to try and get too far away from what the question was around who's Arsenal's most important. I get the breakdown there. And you mentioned
I talked myself out of Rice and went to Saliba. That's what
I hear that. What do you think, Kate? When you think about Arsenal's, the importance for Arsenal to get a positive result in this first leg, who do you think is going to be that key player to help them deliver that? Who do you think has to be at their absolute best for Arsenal to walk away with what I think it needs to be a victory if they're going to have any chance of going through? Who's that key player in your opinion?
I think they've all got to play their best. Something tells me they're going to win tomorrow, Arsenal. But I don't think it will be enough. I think it will be a 2-1, something like that, and only be a 1 goal sort of in it. And I think Real Madrid are a different gravy at their place in the Champions League. It's their competition. But yeah, I think Saka's probably someone that's going to have a really... We all know how good he's been this season when he's played. I mean, had he not got injured, he'd probably be fighting Salah for the Golden Boot. But I think if you get a really good performance out of Saka, they've got a massive chance. But I've just got kind of a feeling that the stars are aligning for Arsenal this year in the Champions League, and I don't like it at all. It's making me really uneasy. But I've just got a weird feeling. But I do fancy him to get to win tomorrow night, but only by 1 goal.
I hear that. Nobbins, got a question for you, a specific one.
Oh my God.
What key one-on-one matchup are you most looking forward to watching?
That's so. I was just about to ask Will, who is your left back going to be?
It's going to probably be Fran Garcia, but he's dealing with like some kind of knock, so
right.
So it might have to be.
So it's your backup left back, and who is also injured.
Yeah, so it could possibly be Camavinga. Maybe you might have to put Camavinga.
Camavinga does play that role. Like he's very good.
Saka versus whoever's going to play at left back. Then I think that would also answer my question in terms of who's going to be the most important player, because Arsenal are not going to. Before they do, I don't think they're going to win at Real Madrid. So I feel like they have to, unless they want to rely on penalties. And there's a lot of voodoo magic that goes on with Real Madrid, penalty shootouts and whatnot.
There'll be a fucking double kick in this penalty shootout as well for the first time ever.
So if they have a desire to go through, I think fundamentally they must win tomorrow. And therefore, the most important player is going to be someone who's most likely to score them a goal or create a goal. And based on precedent, based on the fact that, all the injuries to Arsenal's attackers, I think that's probably got to be Saka, hasn't it? Especially if, the first choice Mendy is either injured or suspended. I don't know what is. He's injured, and Will's saying that maybe even the backup might also be carrying a knock, in which case Camavinga can obviously do a great job at left back, but he's not a left back. That's got to be the area of focus, surely.
What about, there's another matchup one of the viewers here points out, Henry, Skelly versus Rodrygo. How do you see this one playing out at the Emirates Stadium?
I think that's the most exciting matchup. Rodrygo was rested against Valencia. He's a man for the big moment. I think he's got something like 6 quarterfinals and semi-final Champions League goals.
It's Mr. Champions League, Henry.
Yeah, he's the if Vinny's not on it, he's the man they're going to look at. But Lewis Skelly has just got this. I mean, he's 18 years of age. I think, I don't know why, but I mean, I agree with Kate. I think Arsenal win this 1-0. And I think that the Bernabeu's just got this magic there. But I think Lewis Skelly will deal with him. I actually think that the one Arsenal should be looking at is Jude. Because as from a fullback, they'll go one-on-one, man-on-man marking. But it's who are they going to put in the middle? Is it Declan Rice? Is it Partey? Because Jude making the late runs into the box, the passes in behind. Vinny, I think whoever goes up against Vinny will rattle him. And he's 1 yellow card away from missing the other leg. So I think the aim will be to, and we all know his history, he's easily rattled. Timber, whoever they put either side, I think maybe deals with him. But Jude's the one I look at, and I think, right, if it's Declan Rice, he's up against him, and I think there's only one winner there. I think Jude Bellingham, I've said to all of everyone on TikTok who gives me shit, I think he is going to turn up at the Bernabeu and just do that celebration in front of all the Arsenal fans, and he's going to be the one. If they stop him, I think Saliba will be on Kylian Mbappe. I think the fullbacks will be interesting, but Jude Bellingham's the one for me. He's the difference maker.
Did you say that you think that Lewis Skelly is going to lock up Rodrygo?
Well, I think there's no fear in him.
Because that's the matchup right there. Like that, for me, like that's our key matchup. Because I think, if Timber's at right back, right? I think Vinicius not winning that Ballon d'Or has just ruined his season because he's been trash since like December, January. Like he's been awful. So for me, right, I know that, look, he usually does turn up in these knockout stages, but Rodrygo, that's the big matchup for me. Because I think that Mbappe is going to also have his hands full with Saliba. So for me, I think if you're Rodrygo, you have to take advantage of Miles Lewis Skelly. Like, this kid is just getting into the first team, right? He's been on a very fast rise, but like, if he's the player that I think a lot of Madrid fans think he is in terms of Rodrygo, he has to turn up tomorrow. Like,
do you think there'll be any dodgy decision in this game? Like, I mean, you might, as a Madrid fan, you have to be surely you're confident going in against Arsenal. But I just think there'll be some dodgy, controversial. There'll be major VAR controversy in both legs. One, and just because it's Madrid and the influence you've got over the officials, there is going to be some absolute bollocks in this game. We know.
I wouldn't say that we have.
I don't think anyone can kind of predict that. I like the Skelly Rodrygo matchup. I love Rodrygo. I disagree with Igals. We're going to play it again in a minute. Combined 11. In terms of, I know Saka has just returned from injury, but if I base it on this season, I'm picking Rodrygo this season. I actually think Rodrygo is the most underrated player at Real Madrid. I think he's one of the most underrated attackers of the last decade or so. I think he is phenomenal. Mbappe and Vinicius get the headlines and all of that. But this is the irony in this. Maybe it's because of my love of Paul Scholes as an example, and I'll explain why. Because there's so many superstars at Real Madrid, some fall through the cracks. They don't get the same hype. They don't get the same media attention. The fact they're not on the front of, FIFA, or I don't call it FIFA no more. What's it called? FC 25. They're not the poster boy. They're not the name and the face. And I just look at him and think, I think he's in and around their level. He just isn't getting the media attention.
Well, do you know what it is, Terry? It's because he plays on the right. Rodrygo's a left winger. Like anytime that Vinicius is injured or suspended, he cooks on that left wing. But because he is third in the pecking order, he plays out of position. Like if Rodrygo,
sorry,
if he requested a transfer this summer, if he said, I've won a few UCLs, I've won everything here, I want to go be one of the main guys, right? If he was to go to, I don't know, a Bayern or any team that would allow him to
Man United. Yeah.
Okay, maybe because I don't think he'd do good at left wing back, but any team that would let him play left wing.
But bro, for me,
I think that Rodrygo would be in Ballon d'Or conversation.
He would kill it, and that's why when he gets compared to Saka, it frustrates me because if they went to Arsenal, Rodrygo on the left and Saka on the right,
they would cook.
He's game changing, and I just think Rodrygo is. I just find that he is so underrated, and it frustrates me. But I understand the dynamic of it. There's only so many stars a team can have. There's only so many that can do the media conversations. And I don't know anything about him personally. I don't know how unassuming he is. I don't follow most football players on socials. Having said that, thank you, Marcus Rashford, for liking one of our reels on the Football Terrace's Instagram account earlier on today. When I saw it when I woke up, and he shit me pants. I was like, it's
Courtois back. Is Courtois going to play the game?
I think Courtois. I don't know.
Courtois
back. I've heard
in the Champions League. We've seen that guy make.
He pulls off great saves. I've got another question, right? I want to. Anyone can answer this to begin with, right? This is open ended. Maybe Kate can go first. Actually, Kate can go first. We're thinking a little bit ahead of ourselves here because it's the first leg. But how would a positive result for Arsenal, so they qualify, knock out Real Madrid? How would that result impact the club's belief and trajectory moving forward in the Champions League? Could it be the catalyst for Arsenal being considered and looked at and a real serious threat in Champions League football by winning this game?
Yeah, it's got to be. Whoever knocks Real Madrid out has got to go and be one of the favourites. I think they have got to win by a minimum of 2 goals tomorrow. I think because I think Real Madrid will win by at least 2 goals at the Bernabeu. I saw a couple of people like Lewis Skelly, red card. That would concern me if I was an Arsenal fan. I think this kid's very good, but his temperament's questionable. And I think when he gets to the Bernabeu with the officials, he'll be in trouble. But look, I think if Arsenal manage to get through against Real Madrid, you have got to put them as one of the favourites without any shadow of a doubt for me, because Real Madrid are the Champions League team. 15 times is it they've won it. They're just unbelievable in the Champions League. So if Arsenal can get a win there, which they've done before, I believe, if they could beat them, then you've got to put them right up there. I mean, they know the league's done. They've got nothing else to play for. So it's just whether they've got the bottle to do it. They've been accused of being bottlers before. We're silly.
Nobbins, there's always talk about Arsenal's reputation in European football, especially under Mikel Arteta.
They have a reputation in European football. Oh, that was harsh. That wasn't very nice. Where'd that come from? That was rude. Sorry.
I'll be honest with you, the joke's now going over my head. What did I say?
Reputation in European football.
Oh, sorry. I get the joke now. I thought I got it, and then I was like, maybe I misunderstood what he means. But yeah, they don't have a great reputation, as we know. Would this win if they could win over these next 2 legs, would that be a changing in that thought process? And could that therefore help Arsenal?
Help them this season or going forward? Sorry.
A bit of both, really. A bit of both.
Yeah, definitely. I don't see why not. Look, even if it's a Madrid side, I'm sure Will can tell us about the injury, suspensions, whatever. But even if it is a not fully firing Real Madrid, it's still Real Madrid at the end of the day in the Champions League. Yeah, it'd be massive if Arsenal were able to do it. We've touched on the ability of Real Madrid to still get the wins, even against sides which you would argue are better than them or playing better than them on the night. if Arsenal are able to get over that, it's a massive boost. Like it should be anyway, from their sort of like the mentality of the players, and obviously gets them into the next round. And it's also just that sort of that thing of we've illustrated we can do it. We've illustrated we can beat them. And I don't think it matters necessarily that they aren't at full strength. It's still Real Madrid. So yeah, I think it'd be massive, to be honest with you.
I think it'd be really interesting to see what it'd be like in the round afterwards, though.
Go ahead.
So
who's in their bracket, Tom? Sorry.
PSG or Aston Villa.
PSG or Villa.
Arsenal Villa would be.
Unai Emery would descend to unknown levels of hatred just for that game. The things he would pull out of his bag to ensure that Arsenal do not beat him in that semi-final would be horrendous.
I'll be honest with you, again, from a UK, sorry, Tom, from a UK perspective, Aston Villa versus Arsenal would be such an amazing semi-final because of that side story of Unai Emery. I think it makes it would make it a thing. I mean, you could argue there might be some Parisians that think the same thing, right? Because he was obviously at PSG as well. But I think, for the next round, they can't get each other in the semis. But I'd like to see that. But sorry, back to you, Tom. I apologize.
I think that the element that will come into it, and it sounds a bit stupid considering what I was saying earlier on in this stream, but it will only really help Arsenal's standing in Europe or legacy in Europe type thing or reputation in Europe if they were to go on and win it. Because if they were to go on and into the next round, and let's say they get a Villa, who everyone will go, oh, well, Arsenal should be beating Villa, and then Villa beat them. Or they get a PSG who, I know PSG are incredible, they've just won the league, they're on course for an unbeaten season. But Arsenal did beat PSG early this season. So the narrative going into it would be, if Arsenal beat them already this season, they can do it again. If they went out in the next round, it would be a case of, oh, well, at least you got over the quarters, but you weren't there again. And I feel like for your reputation to be made in Europe, you need to win it. I think your reputation in Europe starts from when you win it. That's your base level to go off. And Arsenal struggle with the fact they still haven't won
get that. No, I get that. I suppose what I'm thinking about more is this. Because they haven't won it. And I want to rephrase my view. I totally agree. To build a reputation in Europe, you've got to win it. I that element I agree with. I was focusing more along the lines of nearly every time Arsenal were drawn against a half-decent European side, people they'll go out because their reputation is seen as so poor. But I suppose if they are able to knock out Real Madrid, then they got PSG and knock them out. Even if they lost the final, I think that would build a confidence and a reputation of the following year. Well, it's not a guarantee they're going to get knocked out by the big teams in Europe. And I think that's how you build and you get better. Look how long it took City. City went for a stage where they couldn't get out of the group stages. Then they would be knocked out in the quarters and they would get into semi. And I think you sometimes have to build up that experience and that expectation again. But no, you are right. In terms of overall European, I suppose I would use the word European pedigree and heritage. That's through winning it. But just language in that.
But I think in like a hypothetical like dreamland and like one of these multi-dimensions, right? If Arsenal go through, I still wouldn't say that they're the favorites. I would still say that they're behind PSG, Inter, and Barca. But it would be a big
Vincent company.
Nah, because Bayern are like Bayern are mid this season.
I agree with
Jamal Musiala just got a hamstring injury. Alphonso Davies just tore his ACL. And then I think also Upamecano.
Hang on though, but again, another story. Arsenal versus Bayern Munich in a final. Harry Kane playing.
That would be crazy.
Again, I love these little North. Again, a lot of people want to see a La Liga final, and I totally get why. But as a Premier League fan, predominantly, I just like some of the stories that could come out. But I also agree with you. I don't think they're the favourites if they knock out Real Madrid. I do think there's 3 or 4 other teams.
Like Harry Kane could win the Ballon d'Or. If Bayern, Bayern win the UCL, I think Harry Kane is going to win that trophy.
I'm going to be blunt, direct. I've had this argument with Kate and with Henry. Kate had better arguments than Henry, of course, about the Harry Kane goals and ability versus legacy. And do you know what I love about this season for Harry Kane? If he keeps scoring in these big Champions League games, keep scoring in the title running, and he was to win these trophies, suddenly, I think Spurs fans would get it. It's these goals, and I guarantee you, Harry Kane says something to the effect of at the end of the season, scoring in these games, scoring in these moments, lifting the trophies at the end of it. It's just the most important thing I've ever done in my footballing career. and he'll be speaking the truth. It's only once you've done it, you realize exactly what those moments mean. And I part of me hopes Harry Kane does it, to be fair, because although people think I'm harsh towards him, it's only because I've set a standard that no one gets in the club unless you've achieved certain things. Like my definition of great managers. If you ain't retained the league title or won a Champions League, you don't come in the great club. But I have like a barrier of entry, and you've got to have achieved that.
Wait, say that again, Terry?
So you have got to have won back-to-back league titles and or the Champions League. So, for instance, Ancelotti's never done back-to-back league titles, but he's won multiple Champions Leagues. So he's in, right? Okay. But if you don't retain your league title in a major league and or don't have the Champions League or multiple, I don't put you in the great category. And
so is Arsene Wenger not in the great category then?
I've just set the standard. You don't need to ask the question.
But like, how can we not have Arsene Wenger in the top?
Because he didn't retain a title and he never won the Champions League.
He didn't retain the title.
Now, so the language can change, right? So this is what I'm open to. You can go, Terry, you should call it the legendary category. Cool. I don't really mind what the language is. The point is, I think for all standards, managers, players, defenders, goalies, there's got to be a barrier of entry of something you've achieved alongside your ability, right? There has to be. For instance, you can't be considered the Champions League's greatest ever player unless you've won the fucking thing, in my opinion. I think you've got to have done that, right? So, and I just feel like the word great or the word legend, I believe it's got to be a good high barrier to entry so that it's a finite group of people. Otherwise, if every fucker can come in, what's the point? I don't know.
It loses its credibility and its prestige.
And that doesn't mean, and listen, and people can make the argument about someone did, Arteta did the Invincibles, and maybe that's an achievement that can go in there. And I'm open for the debate. I'm just saying I have a barrier of entry. And by the way, I'll never put a Man United manager in there who hasn't done those things either. Like there's a barrier of entry for these things for me. And there always has been. But there we go. So managing a team that hasn't lost the league title. Listen, okay, do you know what I'll do, Arsenal fans? I'll put that in there. You've got to have won multiple Champions Leagues, retain your title, or gone unbeaten. There we go. There we go. We'll put it in there. You can come in the great. Wenger, you're allowed in the great club, mate. You can come in the great club.
Well done on your 12 draws.
And your 2 losses to Middlesbrough.
I'm just saying. Didn't he retain a league title in France? Did he not do that in France, Arsene Wenger?
No, I think he only won one with Monaco. Was it Monaco?
Oh, okay. Let's have a little look at his career.
I thought he was in Japan.
Has he never retained the league title?
But you know what? I think we might have to draw the line if he's done it in Japan.
No.
Nah, but
look, he's done the double. You know what I mean? So listen, I think the way I look at it is the way I look at my barrier to entry, and it's never discriminating towards any manager because he's done 2 doubles as well. Like, if I was in charge of the club, right, and I'm allowing entry, if Wenger turns up with his CV and says Invincibles, 2 doubles, I'd probably look at it and be like, he introduced good food. I'd be like, all right, do you know what? You can come in, mate. He gets in. He's a great manager. There we go. He's there. The Don Carlo are fraud. Sorry, the Don Carlo, I think you mean is a fraud. Is he really a Real Madrid fan? Sorry, saying Don Carlo's a fraud. Are you a Real Madrid fan?
Probably not then. No. Yeah, because he's a fraud. Sorry.
He's your most successful manager ever.
I mean, look, didn't Terry, like what'd you say like earlier?
He's won 5 Champions Leagues.
You stay long enough, you're a hero, but then if you overstay, now you're a villain. Yeah, Carlo's a villain. I don't care what he wins this season. He needs to leave.
He's not.
Hang on. If he does and wins Real Madrid their first ever treble,
then he should retire because it doesn't get any better than that. Retire.
Even if he wins the Copa del Rey against Barca, the league and the Champions League, he's still a fraud.
He's not.
Just retire, bro. Just go out. Just go out on top.
Just retire. Yeah, went from Madrid to Care Bears FC is what Joshua Jack says here. It's a low risk signing if we get. That's about Delap earlier. Yeah, I hear that to a certain degree. Some reports saying that KDB could move to Inter Miami. Yeah, that'd be a good move. That'd be a good move. Doesn't United need Champions League, Terry? Oh, when I said why wasn't there more intensity from City? We can't get it through the league. If we're not intense against Olympic Lyon, I'll call it out. Terry, look at the top 4 battle the last couple of years. All teams have been inconsistent. Aston Villa have been bad. have even been bad after every Champions League game. This is very, very
but I
true.
think that was to be expected with Villa. It's the first time in the competition. It always kind of happens once a team finally gets there, because it happened with Newcastle the same last season. I think that the thing that'll be interesting to watch, obviously, I know we talked about it earlier with Chelsea. Chelsea might get top 5 by virtue of other teams just not punishing them. Because if Villa win in the Champions League, I'd have Villa nailed on for top 5. I think that team is finally clicked in terms of Emery this season. That team is finally set up to play the exact football Emery wants to play. That's why I know they knocked us out in the last round, but I think, to be honest, I think Aston Villa gave PSG a tougher game than we did.
Well, there we go. Cheers, Tom. Thank you, Luke, for encouraging everyone to hit the like button. We are at the end of the stream now. This is going to redirect you to Hassam's channel. If you want to speak more Manchester United, I'm live on the United Stand in about 5 minutes. So come join me across there to hear what I've got to say. I want to thank my panel, my beautiful, wonderful, dynamic panel, and Henry for all coming on the show tonight and having their say. I appreciate it a lot. To all of our viewers, our super chatters, everyone who's hit the like button, thank you. We are back tomorrow, a special live show with myself and Mark Goldbridge, straight facts, and of course the reaction to Arsenal versus Real Madrid. Until next time, take care, goodbye, God bless. I'm just off to go and revisit my guest list for the Legends Managers Club, which Wenger's now got access to. So well done, Tevin, for challenging me on that. Until then, take care, goodbye, God bless, and I'll see you all again soon. Peace.